Okay, you guys, welcome back. You're with Mark and Tom. We're talking UFC on ESPN 23, and we're talking who I'm buying. Quick, let's thank our sponsor, Tampa Bless, home of Team Do Good, TampaBless.com for more information. Now let's get right into it. We got the first fight, our main event of the night. We got a light heavyweight event. We got Dominick Reyes, 12-2, coming off first two losses of his career. Tough opponents, though. He lost to John Jones and Jan Blachowicz. And then he's fighting Yuri Prochazka, 27-3-1, who's on an 11-fight win streak. Fun fact about Yuri, though, he was offered a UFC contract much earlier on in his career, and he turned it down, saying he wasn't ready. And he said once he steps in the UFC, he just wants to dominate. So he held out, still got the call anyways. And here he is, about to see him on the main event. All right, Tom, how do you see this event breaking down? Where do you see it going? Is Reyes old goods now, or are those two guys just too good for him? Is Yuri just going to dominate this one? Where do you see it going? How do you see it playing out?
Well, first off, I want to thank you for having me, Mark.
You're welcome.
I see Dominick Reyes and Yuri both as potential threats to the belt. They're both extremely nasty fighters, very skilled. And we'll see what happens. This is a great fight, and I don't feel like Dominick is old news. He's trying to make a comeback here. He came off two very tough fights.
Right. Yeah.
He's 31 years old, out of California. He's 6-2 in the UFC. Both those losses were his last two fights, one against Jan and then the previous one against John. He's number 3 rank. He's 6 feet 4 inches tall. Yuri, on the other hand, is 6 feet 3 inches, so they're basically about the same height. Reyes is currently the underdog in this fight, even though he's ranked higher. He has a blue belt in BJJ. His last fight was against Jan, where he was TKO'd, lost September 2020. His first MMA pro fight was in 2014. He's been in the UFC since 2017. In the UFC, with his 6-2 record, 3 of the W's are via strikes, 2 by decision, and 1 by sub. On the other hand, you have Yuri Prochazka out of the Czech Republic, 28 years old. He's 3 years younger than Dominick. He's 6 feet 3 inches tall, like I just said before.
Right.
27-3-1, but only 1-0 in the UFC. He won by KO in his first fight. He's number 5 rank, and he's also the former Ryzen light heavyweight champ. He's a strong Muay Thai background. He also kind of reminds me of like Crow Cop, even though Crow Cop was Croatia. He had that basically law enforcement background. And here, Yuri studied in security and protective services. Just an interesting tidbit right there. MMA pro debut in 2012. Look out for the flying knee. He's got 3 wins via flying knee.
Impressive.
On his record. Yeah. 24 wins by strikes, 2 decision, and it looks like 1 sub I have. I'm not 100%. We need to double check that on the 2 decision and the 1 sub. If you could clarify that. But 24 wins, that's insane. Just the amount that he finishes. He's really almost 100% finishing. As far as how I see this fight goes, man, Yuri's so strong. I mean, he looked great. But I really think Dominick, if he can get his head right and get back into it, he might have went into that Jan fight a little overconfident, and he paid for it. We'll see. This could go either way. I don't see it going to a decision. I think it will.
One submission. There will be take a look. 1 submission.
Oh, is it 1 submission? Okay, yeah. So 1 submission and 2 decisions. So 25 finishes.
Unbelievable.
And 2 decisions for Yuri. Yeah. So I don't think this is going to go to a decision. I think there will be some type of finish, and it'll likely be by strikes. Being that Dom went across from Cali over to New York to attend school in SUNY Stony Brook, and he played football over there, and I grew up in the Hudson Valley, I kind of have a little bit of a soft spot for that. So I'm going to lean towards Dominick here. I'm going to go with Dominick on the rebound, even though he's the underdog. Via strikes.
Okay.
Probably not. Maybe the 3rd. maybe the third. But obviously, this could go either way. But that's where I'm going to go with
Dominick
right
by
there.
strikes.
I wanted to give a little. Yeah, Dominick by strikes. Yo, fun fact though, I wasn't going to include this, but I decided I'm going to overrule myself. And Yuri's nickname is Denisa, which in English would be Denise, which is kind of odd. And I read a story on it, and I don't know how accurate it is, but I read it to where they say his nickname Denisa came from training camp where one of his trainers was calling out Denisa, and he responded, inaccurately. And then they kind of clowned him and started calling him Denisa from then on. A lot of times that's how nicknames come about, but it's just kind of funny anyhow.
Oh.
And I felt like sharing that little tidbit.
All right, so you're taking Reyes. I'm actually going to go the opposite. I got Yuri winning this fight. I think he's got a chin to hang in there with Reyes if he gets a good shot off. He's waited time back, improving his skills. He's a finisher. I think he can do it. As far as Reyes goes, his 2018 Topps Chrome, I'm a hold and see. If he can get over the hump and get back into the race again and win and beat Yuri, I like him. I'm a buy on him. And Yuri is a buy. He just got released yesterday, in Panini Prism. He's already seen some demand. I think he's got a real shot to challenge for the title. He's got a different technique, a different style. I'm going to take Yuri by flying knee in the first round.
Oh, I like it.
In the first round. Fun fact about Dominick, his nickname's the Devastator, actually. And he used to go by the Dominator, but he gave respect to the true Dominick Cruz, the Dominator. Just a fun fact there.
I didn't know that last little bit. That's interesting.
Yeah, so now we'll get into our next fight, guys. We have a featherweight bout. We got Giga Chiatzi, 12-2 MMA record. He's 38-6 kickboxing record, and he's on a 7-fight win streak right now. He's going to take on Cub Swanson, 27-11. Fun fact, Cub Swanson holds the most fight of the night bonuses in featherweight history. He's also on a 2-fight win streak here. Where do you see this one playing out? I got a clear one on this one. I don't see a two-sided one, but maybe some people do. So where do you see this fight going?
I like it. Another great fight. The 4 fights we're covering, they're all high-end fights right there. All right, Cub Swanson out of Palm Springs, California, 27-11. In the UFC, he's 12-7. 7 decisions, victories, 5 by strikes, and 0 by sub. Black belt in BJJ, though, even though he doesn't have any subs. His debut in the UFC was 2011. His WEC debut was 2007. He's been around. His last fight was fairly recent, December 2020, where he had beat by KO Daniel Pineda. And prior till that, he beat Kron Gracie in a decision and fight of the night, which Mark had already given the stats on his kind of holding that.
He's a fun fighter to watch, for the division. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. He's down to scrap, as they call him, Killer Cub. After the interesting thing, though, about that with him coming off these 2 straight wins is prior till that, though, he was in a slump. And he had 4 losses in a row prior till that. And he was probably on the chopping block. I don't know for a fact, but I would guess after that. Now he's resurged, and now he's back. He's 5'7", not as tall as Giga. Giga, on the other hand, is 6 feet tall.
Very tall for that division.
So that could be a big difference there, too. Cub's 37 and Giga's 32, so there's also that age disparity of 5 years, which can be considerable. I wanted to ask you just a quick trivia, if you happen to know. Do you happen to know Cub's real first name?
No, I do not.
Kevin.
Kevin
was his birth name. Kevin. I did not know that either before researching. I just thought that was a fun trivia piece. All right, let's get over to Giga on the other side, and we have 2 Georgians from the country, Georgia, from the same city on this basically show that we're casting right now. Him and Merab are both from the same city in Georgia. I wonder if they know each other.
What?
I really don't know that answer, but they may. 12-2, 5-0 in the UFC, undefeated in the UFC, 4 wins by decision, 1 by strikes. So he's very heavy on the decision end also, but is capable of strikes. He also, it's worth noting, a 3rd-degree black belt in Goju Ryu Karate. So pro debut 2015, UFC 2019. He's by the way, he's ranked number 14, and Cubs ranked number 15. So this is right next to each other in the rankings right there, 14 versus 15. How do I see it? I think it's going to be a striking game. And I want to say Giga has the edge on striking.
Right.
As much as I want to say that Cub is going to sneak one out here, I'm seeing Giga outpoint him, really, and win a decision. But it could be fight of the night. You just never know because
Cubs in
nobody might go out, and they might just keep tagging.
Yeah. I have a heavy feeling on this one. I got Giga. I think Giga's going to finish this fight. I'm not sure exactly what round, but Giga has, I believe, like you just said, a very heavy hands, very heavy kicks. He just has an edge in striking, I feel. I feel Cub Swanson's just a little over the hill now at 37 years old. He's been in war after war after war. And Giga showed his skill set in the last few fights. He looks great out there. Even though they haven't all been finishes, he's been fighting, leaving it on the line. He looks really good. Now, to me, Giga is a definite buy. He's also brand new as of yesterday in Panini Prism Drop. I really like him long term. I think he could be the champ. He could be a future champion kind of guy. He's got the height. He's got the length. He's got all the skill sets possible needed. We haven't really seen him on the ground, but not too many people get to take him to the ground. He's just so heavy with his kickboxing background. He looks great. Cub, to me, is a sell in my opinion. I just can't see him climbing to any championship kind of level at this time in his career. Could be a good time to start unloading him now that he's back in the limelight a little bit for this fight. We will see. Now we're going to move on. We're going to get right into a great middleweight bout. These guys aren't as talked about, but they are both very good, and they're going to be talked about because they look great every time they step in there. We got Sean Strickland, 22-3. He's on a 3-fight win streak, with his last win being Brendan Allen, who I also think is a very strong candidate for a title fight in the near future. And he's going off against Christoph Jaco, who's 22-4, who's also on a 3-fight win streak, with his last win being Eric Anders. It's going to be a great fight, in my opinion. Where do you see this fight going? Who do you see taking this one down?
Another fun one. These guys are very evenly matched, just stats-wise. Sean Strickland's 30. Christoph is 31 years old. Sean Strickland is 22-3 overall, 9-3 in the UFC. Jaco is 22-4, 9-4 in the UFC. Sean Strickland is 6'1". Christoph is 6'1". We weren't able to find a ranking for Christoph, so he may not be ranked in the top 15. However, Sean Strickland is number 15, right at the edge of kind of where people start tracking from 15 down. I mean, you could be higher than that, like a Cam. Cam Zot is right at 15, I believe, also right now. Former king of the cage middleweight, Sean Strickland. He recovered from numerous injuries, being hit by a car while riding his motorcycle just a couple years ago. So that was worth noting, too. I believe that was 2018. I'd have to clarify that date, but it was within recent history. So he's really made a comeback and has showed just the resilience of his body.
Right.
MMA pro debut 2008, UFC since 2014. Notably, he lost to Usman by decision in 2017. That was down at welterweight, I believe. He's coming off a big TKO win against Brendan Allen, who you mentioned, and Brendan is salty about that. He wants the winner of this no matter what.
Give it to him.
That
like
was
Allen.
Justin. Oh, yeah, I think it would be great. Let's do it again. If that's just assuming that Sean wins. But either way, give the winner to Allen. I agree. Let's do it. November 2020 was the Allen fight, so not that long ago. 3 wins in a row for Strickland. Jaco, the same, has 3 wins in a row. However, he hasn't fought in about a year. Last May against Eric Anders, he beat Eric Anders. And as we know, Eric Anders is a monster. And that's impressive for anybody to beat that man. Even though Eric Anders is not a top 3 guy, he is a serious threat. He beat him 1 year ago. His pro MMA debut was in 2010. UFC since 2013. I think a lot of people might not realize how long Jaco's been in the UFC. I mean, that's 8 years. Some people may have never even heard of him.
Right.
He's of his 9-4 victory in the UFC, he has 8 decision wins and 1 by strikes, 0 subs. So he's a heavy guy to go to a decision for his wins. On the other hand, with Sean Strickland, with his 9-3 in the UFC, he has 5 decisions, 3 by strikes, and 1 sub. So he's leaning towards more strike and finishes than Jaco, but he's still heavy on the decisions as well. Where do I see this? I'm going to, even though they're both heavy on the decisions, I'm going to say Sean Strickland finishes Jaco by strikes in the second round.
Wow, okay. All right.
I mean, as we know, all these things could go either way.
That's right.
But that's my prediction.
All right, so I'm pretty close to that one. I feel Strickland gets the job done in this one. I feel like we're going to see a really good fight. We're going to see a brawl. There's just something about Strickland's skill set when he's in there. He just looks like a machine. Just keeps coming forward and takes punishment. Like, he just wears it really well. It's like a video game. He just keeps going forward, even getting struck up. He looks really good. He's looked better and better every time we've seen him in there. I really like him. That's not to say that Jaco's not getting better and better by his own right. I just give the edge to Strickland. I believe it's going to go decision. I think Strickland's going to get a unanimous decision in this one, though. I don't see it going. I don't see him knocking him out. We will see, though. As far as Strickland, he's not printed yet. And if he wins this one, I think we'll see him printed in Select or in future product. And I'd definitely be a buy if he wins. And I basically have the same opinion on Jaco. We got time. He's not printed yet also. So if he can win this one, these guys are both going to climb up, potentially be in the top 10 or right around there, 11, 12, where they'll get a bigger name. And you got a little time to wait and see, and then you can buy them in the next set if they come out. Now let's move on to the next fight here. This is actually one of my favorite fights, one of my favorite fighters in the UFC right now. We got a bantamweight. We got Merab Dashvili, 12-4. He's on a 5-fight win streak. And he's beaten some of the top guys in the division. He's beaten John Dodson, Gustavo, and Casey Kenny. He's going up against Cody Stamann, who's also been on fire lately. He's 19-3-1, but he's coming off a loss to Jimmy Rivera, which is, we all know Jimmy's just a warrior. So there's not much to be said on that one. Where do you see this one going? I'm a little biased on this one. I've been a big fan. I'm in the tri-state area myself, and Dashvili trains at Serra-Longa Camp, so got to stick with the home team. How do you see this one playing out?
Indeed. Worth noting, though, on the Jimmy Rivera fight last July it was also reported that last May, Cody Stamann had lost his 18-year-old brother. So that was weighing very heavy on Cody and may have, I'm not even going to say may have, I'm going to say certainly affected his training.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get into it. This is the 135-pound, the bantamweight. Merab, like we said, the same with Giga, out of Georgia. The country.
Representing.
Yep. Cody out of Michigan. Cody has the wrestling background. Merab has the Sambo background. Where do I see this? I see this really being who has the will to carry on longer and to win the decision. That's really what I see here. But let me get into a couple more numbers. Merab is 30 years old. Cody Stamann, actually, I don't even have, I forgot to list Cody's age. Do you have that?
31.
31, so close on that one as far as age-wise goes. Merab 12-4, but he's 5-2 in the UFC. He has a 5-fight win streak. All 5 wins are by decision. Mm-hmm. So he's a grinder. That's what he does. He comes in and just works and works and works until hopefully you fall apart and he wins. He's a pro since 2014, UFC since 2017. Cody, on the other hand, 19-3-1, 5-2-1 in the UFC. All 5 wins by decision also. These guys are decision happy. Pro debut 2011, UFC since 2017. I see, like I just said, this is going to be good, but it's going to be who has the heart, the stamina, the desire to win a grinded out 3-round bout to a decision. And I'm going to go with Merab because that seems to be, although it seems to be both their specialties, I think Merab might be a little bit better at the grind.
Right. All right. I obviously, I said it before, gave it away already. I'm a big Merab Dashvili fan. And you don't get the nickname the Machine for no reason. The guy goes in there and just puts in work, and he keeps working. He never gets tired. He faints. His stand-up is becoming improved. It's not quite there yet, but I think Stamann has the edge in stand-up, but they're both going to look to go to the ground. And I feel like Merab has an advantage on the ground. He just he's going to go for takedown after takedown and just wear you out, and that's why he's a decision machine. And as far as it goes, Merab just got printed in Prism also. I believe he's a definite buy right now. I think Cody Stamann, if he beats Merab, I think then he's going to get some top guys in front of him if he can get that done. But his few losses that he's had have always been to the top guys. He just hasn't had enough to get over that hump. I think it's like Aljamain Sterling and another top guy are his couple losses in the UFC there. I think Merab's on that pace to be one of those top guys where you're going to see him contending for a belt very soon, maybe 2 more wins possibly this year, and then you could see right there Merab gets a shot very soon. It's a little held up. That division's pretty stacked actually at the moment, but I'm a buy on Merab. Stamann, I'm a wait and see. He has to beat Merab here for me to even think about buying him. All right, guys, that's going to be our show. We got a few questions from Tom today, though, I believe.
Yes, sir. Just really quickly, and this is just Mark responding. I'll respond myself to the second question, but I'm really not going to respond to the first one. The first one's just for you, Mark. Thoughts on the UFC going public today on the New York Stock Exchange under the ticker EDR? It's the Endeavor Group Holdings. Feelings?
I love it. I think it's going to force them to pay their fighters more to get bigger fights. I am also going to be a buyer of that because I'm a big fan of UFC. I see the growth potential there. I got to dig deeper into the numbers before I can really give it a full-blown buy. But I like it a lot, and I think it really can help the fighters if they got to make those mega fights more. Like John Jones is sitting out. Derek Lewis is already getting that fight, supposedly. He already signed the paperwork. They're just waiting on Francis. I think that will help guys like Jones and them to get those big fights because they want to do big numbers. I don't think it'll be vice versa. So I like it. Go public. I already picked some up myself actually this morning, but a very small amount until I get a little more time to do a little more research. Then I might buy a little more because the price seems right. You don't get too many coming public that don't shoot up so fast right now for big companies.
All right, and the last question here, which I'll respond to myself, is just one fighter. If you could have your way, if you were the matchmaker here in the UFC, who would you like to see Nick Diaz fight?
So, Nick Diaz coming back off a very long layoff. I don't think either Diaz brother ever needs a tune-up fight. Those guys just, they know how to fight. Their chins are just incredible. They're always training. I'd like to see him get Hamzat, the guy they're looking for. I think it's a good fight. If you can't get Hamzat, I'd honestly like to see him get Leon Edwards. Could be a great fight.
All right, fair enough. Leon Edwards, as we know, if he's fighting his brother.
Right. Could be a revenge fight.
Right there.
Let's just get into one thing. Who would you consider a better fighter, not more popular, Nick or Nate?
I really don't know. I might say currently in his career, the edge would go to Nate.
Currently, because he's been fighting. I think Nick has always been the better fighter to me. I think Nick in the past has fought. They both fought creme de la creme. Let's not, but like we're talking, he went up against Silva. He went up against all these guys that were just in their prime.
GSP.
Yeah, and he's always performed. I think Nick. I'm not going to say he is right now because we haven't seen him in years, but I think Nick was the better fighter than Nate, and I'd like to see that. I'd like to see a revenge fight if Leon beats Nate. But if Hamza does what he's been doing, you just got to stand out of the way. But it'd be a great fight because no one really finishes the Diaz brothers like that. That's why I'd like to see it.
I love the Diaz brothers. You know that. I'm a huge fan of the Diaz brothers. But, yeah, it's a tough call because I originally was thinking Diaz, go get Jake Paul. But now that he's going to definitely be doing the UFC, I was thinking, okay, Bilal versus Diaz. But now Bilal's booked for Maya. And then I was thinking Khamzat versus Brady, I think would be a good matchup. But Brady versus Diaz, I think, would also be a good one, as well as Cam versus Diaz. Cam is definitely going to be looking for the takedown, though.
He might not.
I don't know how.
His last fight was a 5-second knockout versus Mearshart.
No, true. Hey, I would like to see it. Don't forget about Sean Brady in there, though. I believe he's undefeated as well.
Yeah, he looks good too. He does. Wouldn't be a bad one. They say he's got an incredible work rate too, so it'd be good.
Yeah. All right. Thanks so much, Mark.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us today. We will see you guys very soon.